This is the Investing News Network. I'm Georgia Williams. Joining me today is Robert Eckford, CEO of Rua Gold. They trade on the TSXV under ticker symbol RUA and on the OTCQB under ticker symbol NZAUF. Thank you for joining me today, Robert.
Lovely to meet you, Georgia.
You as well. I was wondering if you could give us a quick overview of the company for anyone that's not familiar with what you do.
Sure. We're one of the few companies out there exploring for gold down in New Zealand. And we're very intentionally in New Zealand because it's the best jurisdiction out there. It's got very permissive legislation and a very pro-mining government that wants more mining there. So they've got everything in their powers to help get mines into production as soon as possible. They've got an aggressive plan to grow their mining industry. So it's the only place in the world you can get a mine permitted in 6 months. It's the best place to be in. And the geology down there is also phenomenal. And so we've got really high grade targets at both our North Island project and our South Island project. And the team itself has done this many times before. This is not our first rodeo in the gold mining space. And between us, we've had over $11 billion of exits and we've created a lot of value for shareholders. So we're a very well backed explorer that's quickly moving into the developer category.
And that's really exciting to know that New Zealand is such a, great jurisdiction. I know a lot of people don't think of New Zealand when they think of gold. So it's nice to know that the permitting regime there is quite quick.
Yeah, no, most certainly. And then most of my storytelling is about New Zealand because, there's not a whole lot of gold exploration companies or any exploration companies there by any means. Oceana Gold, an $8 billion gold producer is based out of there, and that's where their foundational assets came from. But outside of that, there's not many companies out there, and that actually works to our advantage. We get direct lines into government officials and stakeholders because there's not many of us saturating the market. We have really good stakeholder engagement.
And, speaking a little bit about what you're working on down there, in early August, the company announced an expanded drill program at the Reefton project and released some drill results in September. The results were really strong, 17 meters at almost 10 grams per ton gold equivalent. What do those numbers tell you about the strength of the system you're uncovering?
Yeah, we came out and said to the market, look, we're going to be developing a resource and we're going to do a resource refresh at the end of the year. So we're going to drill all the way up until December. We'll put a line in the sand there and we'll get RSC to help us with the resource refresh and we'll publish a fresh 43-101 in January. And that's going to have an updated resource completing that drill program. And that initial drill program is targeting somewhere in the range of 300,000 to 500,000 ounces just at Old Creek. And then across the Reefton district on the South Island, we'll get closer to around 600,000 or 700,000 ounces. We feel like that's enough to really justify, and remember, these are really high-grade ounces, so that's enough to justify at least going through the process and taking advantage of what we have versus our peers, which is really fast permitting. So that's enough to get us through that permitting process, to demonstrate to the New Zealand government that there's a lot of economic benefit for regional Reefton, and to go through that 6-month permitting timeframe. So 2026 is all about progressing with our starter resource. That's definitely not the end of Reefton. We've got a huge land package there, but it's enough to get an economic study going to kick off the path to production. And then we know there's a huge potential to upsize. This is one of our 7 targets in Reefton that we're developing right now. So we can comfortably say there's a lot more gold in Reefton just ready for us to explore with our own cash flow rather than consistent dilution.
And you've extended the strength and depth quite a bit. Does that suggest you're just scratching the surface of what's there? And what's next for testing those extensions?
That's correct. Yeah, we're not building a mine because we think 500,000 ounces is the end of the road. We're building a mine in advance to then limit our dilution with future capital raises. We're going to be able to fund that ourselves. So we are extending it along strike. We haven't worked out the edge of it yet. We are extending it at depth. And again, it's still open as we continue drilling. And we're only down to 300 or 400 meters. We've actually got a neighbor next to us in Reefton called Endura Mining. It's a private Australian group. And they've extended their resource all the way down to 1,500 meters. So these style of mineralization, they run deep, and we know they run deep. That's what orogenic systems do. So yeah, the follow-on drill campaign while we're going to be completing our studies in 2026. We'll be expanding that resource to the north and further at depth as we build out a resource. So we'll do a study and we'll get through the permitting phase with our initial 500,000 odd ounces. And then by the time we're actually going into production and building the mine, we're going to have a better understanding of the resource, and we can tweak how that underground mine works and is developed as we go through the process.
And, Old Creek sits in the historic Reefton gold field, which you were talking a little bit about. Historically, they've produced, 2 million ounces. How does this discovery fit into your bigger plans, for regional growth?
Yeah, I mean, the whole district of Reefton is a sort of 60-kilometer strike length of surface anomalies and historical mining. So as you mentioned, up until the early 1900s, 2 million ounces of gold was taken out of this district at grades up to 50 grams a ton. So we're not going into a full greenfields area, but the old timers left a lot behind. And there's a couple of reasons. Some of it was just the limits of depth they could get back to back then. I mean, the old timers got as deep as 500 meters, which is extremely amazing for what they were doing in the 1930s. But in today's world, you get underground mines that go over 2 kilometers deep. And so there's a huge depth potential. But on the other side, there's a gold antimony style mineralization here. And the old timers didn't want the antimony. It actually ruined their gold recoveries back then in the early 1900s. Now gold and antimony is highly sought after. Antimony is one of the critical resources that everyone is talking about and no one can get their hands on. And the actual metallurgy of it is very simple. There's a number of mines, gold antimony mines out there operating in the world. Metallurgy is understood. The recoveries are all in the 90% for these mines. And it's very, very well trodden paths. So we're not embarking on anything new. I don't want to be a first mover in the mining space. That's not what we're into. We're fast followers and we see a really good opportunity there. So you've got gold antimony, which the old timers left behind. And you've got the depth potential for some of the high grade gold veins that the old timers couldn't get to. So no shortage of follow-up targets as we progress this project. And truly, I believe that this mine will be a 50-year mine. I mean, these sort of things just keep going and going at depth. And a good example of that is Costerfield mine at Mandalay Resources. It's a gold antimony mine. It's over 30 years in operation and it's still got a long lead life going ahead of it.
And you mentioned antimony, and, that is a big part of the story here. How does, the addition of antimony change the value of the project and how you present it?
Yeah, I'll be first to admit we're not antimony developers or explorers. Antimony is an amazing byproduct, but we are very gold focused, and our investor base really believe in the gold thesis that is unfolding, and we're seeing it in the market today. But I also sit here and I can't ignore the real value potential of the antimony. The spot prices run from $10,000 a ton a couple of years ago up to $50,000 a ton. And not only the economic value of it, because I can't project where the antimony market's going to go, but just to have strategic metals that everyone is looking for. We're in this time in the geopolitical climate where America versus China and onshoring and friendshoring is a really important thing for critical minerals. And antimony is being voted as one of the scarcest minerals out there. So it's a really good strategic mineral to have as a byproduct because it gets the full attention of the New Zealand government wanting to play a part in the strategic minerals and critical mineral story, as well as the fact that it gets a lot of interest from bigger groups that don't usually invest in mining that want to secure an antimony supply. And I'm not going to give away any names. I think everyone can do their own research as to who's after antimony. But we've got a number of parties interested in securing supply once we're closer to that development timeline.
That's very exciting. And, looking back at the company, you recently added a new VP of exploration and a VP risk, stakeholder, and regulatory affairs. How do your new members complement your team?
Yeah, really. Firstly, with the VP Exploration, Emmett, he comes to us out of the Victoria region of Australia. As I said, that's where Mandalay Resources mine is, and the geology of the South Island of New Zealand and Reefton is an analog to the Victoria Bentigo high-grade gold antimony veins that we're chasing. So he comes with a lot of experience in the style of mineralization that we're dealing with Reefton. and brings a fresh eyes and fresh perspective as to how we're approaching that campaign. And it also frees up our COO, Simon Henderson, to move and focus more time on our North Island project, which we look to be drilling very shortly. And he spent 25 years up in that district, so I really want his attention to be focused up there. It's a big epithermal, it's untested, undrilled, and we've got a huge potential for a tier 1 epithermal discovery up there because we are adjacent to 1.5 million ounces that Oceanic Gold have discovered at 18 grams a ton. So as I said, New Zealand geology is phenomenal. It's high grade. It's amazing. It's really exciting. Our second new hire, Simon DeLander, joins us and really fortunate to have him because he actually spent, I mentioned our neighboring company in Reefton, it's Endura Mining, and they're fully permitted. They're fully funded and they're building mine and going to be building their mine and they're going to be producing by December next year. So we've got a producing gold company next to us. Simon DeLander was the key person that actually got that thing permitted. And he did it before the politics even changed, before the pro-mining government came in. So he's got an amazing stakeholder relationships. He knows exactly the process that we're going with. And he's done it all before. He spent 5 years doing that. So now we've got him in our remit and he's going to be joining the team come Monday. And really excited to get him on board because it's a playbook he's done before. And you know, the right projects attract the right people. And Mr. DeLander is one of those right people that we're going to have on the team.
Yeah, it sounds like a wealth of expertise.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, you always want someone that's done it before, especially if it's in the exact region that you're working in.
Absolutely. And, you know, just to wrap up, 2026 is poised to be a big year for the company with plans for a resource refresh, like you mentioned, as well as the kickoff of drilling at Glamorgan. Can you tell us about these milestones and what other news investors should be on the lookout for next year?
Sure. We're going to make a big effort next year to really engage with making sure we have these monthly updates. There's going to be a lot going on with the company. And so we want to make sure our investors are well informed. And so really you've nailed it. It's down in the Reefton district. We'll still be drilling hard down there. We've got 3 rigs turning today and a lot of exploration results to be coming to the market. Resource refresh, as I mentioned, an updated 43-101 coming out in January, going into the study phase and all the met testing that comes with that. And then there's still going to be drilling ongoing. So there's a lot of more exploration results coming out of Reefton. And then in the North Island, this untested epithermal. I mean, people get really excited about epithermal. Some of the best gold mines in the world are epithermal deposits. I mean, the Martha mine in the Northern Island of New Zealand has already produced 10 million ounces, and that's less than 10 kilometers away. A 10 million ounce deposit is very rare to come by these days. And we're adjacent to Wharekirauponga, which is today about 1.5 million in indicated, but showing all respects that it could get to 5 million ounces because it's still open in every direction. So we're in elephant country. One of the nice Lundin quotes that are out there is, if you're going to go elephant hunting, you may as well be in the right district. And Hauraki district in the North Island is the elephant district. So really excited about commencing the first ever drill program up there.
Definitely 2026 will be very exciting for you.
Yep, no, most certainly. Really looking forward to it. And most importantly as all, we did a really good fundraising of 14 million back in June this year. And so that sees us cashed up and able to execute on all these milestones we're talking about all the way through to late next year. So really excited to be able to deliver results to shareholders without having to worry about the wolf at our back with money raising.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me, Robert. I really appreciate it.
Lovely to meet you, Jordan.
Yes. This is Robert Eckford, CEO of Rua Gold, and I'm Georgia Williams with the Investing News Network.